How's it going, people? Hope you're all well. Welcome back to Football's 12th Man podcast. I'm your host, Dan Potts, and we're back for the Fight for Survival show. And this is a bit of a strange one, the start of this season. We've had 3 games in, and I don't actually know where to put all the teams at the moment. Like, there's been some madness stuff happening that I predicted that some of these teams would be struggling. Some of the teams are really not struggling at all. Teams that I would expect to be in the race for Europe, i.e. Liverpool, West Ham, Man United, all should be on this show if things were right. But let's be real, it is still early days. It's going to be interesting, this one tonight, because there's a couple of games to cover. Obviously, the Premier League and, of course, last night's Carabao Cup games as well to touch on just very quickly. Big up, Matt. Matt, how are you, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Good result last night. Not so much at the weekend, as Emilio will probably fill you in on shortly. But all good. Good to see you boys as well.
Yeah, always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure. Dan, you got a smile on your face, bro. Listen, this has been a good omen since you've come down to this show. It's starting to go well. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've done that on purpose, bro. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, it's been a good week. I didn't expect the Leicester win. Last night was a bit more straightforward, but yeah, we've seemed to have a good start to the season for once.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Southampton, who apparently I said don't score goals, have now scored, 7 in the last 3 games or something crazy? It's mad.
Yeah,
anyway,
something like that.
Craziness. Emilio, ups and downs for you this week, man. How you feeling?
Yeah, very good, Dan. Very good. Yeah, huge up at the weekend. I was like, from a neutral perspective, it was a great advert for the Premier League. Let's put it. And then last night a little bit back down to earth, but I don't read too much into that. I know we've played a lot of young players. They played 5 or 6 had their debuts, but yeah, just disappointing. We didn't beat Crawley even with a second or third team there, and use that as an opportunity just to play some of our fringe players. But Premier League is more important, and yeah, let's that game on Saturday, still buzzing from it, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet you are, man. And welcome for a debut, Jeff, our Bournemouth fan. Sam couldn't make tonight, and Jeff has deputised. How you doing, Jeff? How you feel, bro?
Yeah, very good. Pretty good after winning last night at Norwich. It was unexpected. We all expected us to get tanked as we did last season when we lost 6-0 in the same round to Norwich at Carrow Road. So to come out winners was great. Premier League, we knew it's going to be a tough start, but bit surprised that what with this being a relegation show, we haven't got Liverpool and Man U fans on here. What's going on, Dan?
I know, man. Listen, this is they can't. Their pride is too much, man. They can't take that leap, especially after the way Man United performed. They're not going to come down here now, man. They're all gassed now, aren't they? They're going to win the league again. It's mad. But listen, boys, it's going to be an interesting show. First of all, we got to talk Fulham and Brentford. What a game! I watched Match of the Day and saw some great football in parts and a real good game for the neutral, as Emilio said. I'm going to start with Matt. I know, Emilio, you're the one that will be happier out of the two, but I want to get a perspective of what it was like to be on the losing side from that game, Matt, because that was a really good game, bro.
Yeah, it was a good game. And I think, as Emilio said, as an advert for the neutrals and kind of getting people in, fantastic game. I think I'd like to believe my kind of opinions of Brentford so far this season are quite neutral and kind of unbiased. I think Fulham dominated the first half, obviously scored within inside a minute, which was catastrophic for Brentford. I think the second half we played really well. I think we put it together. Obviously had a goal chalked off as well, which we'll probably talk about later. I mean, just by talking about the Marcus Rashford goal against Liverpool on Monday night and the advantage being given to the striker, and the Ivan Toney goal was kind of lesser of a margin than the Rashford goal. But all credit to
what
Fulham.
Strike that was, man, by the way. What an absolute individual bit of quality.
It's class, and I've never been a doubter. I sometimes wondered about his finishing and kind of how clinical he was. I would have placed Ollie Watkins above him in terms of being clinical last season, even when Watkins went to Villa as well. But it just goes from strength to strength. But I think it could have gone either way. And I think it was a great game. I think Fulham played exceptionally well. And even if you go back to my comments last week or the week before, I think Fulham this time are here to stay. I think Mitrovic will fire at least kind of 12, 15 goals a season. And yeah, it was good. You can't really take too much from it. And a lot of the Brentford fans have been saying, to go and beat Man United 1 week 4-0 and then lose at Fulham the week after. It's just the nature of the Premier League, and it's the nature of those clubs being in the Prem. You deal with it. If we'd have got a draw out of the Fulham game, I would have taken that before the game. So yeah, no kind of bad blood or bitterness. I think anyone could have edged it. Fulham did, and we go again after that.
Yeah, 100, man. I think that's a very good way of looking at it. Emilio, you must be very happy with that, mate. It was an unbelievable game and a great ending for as far as Fulham are concerned, mate.
Yeah, and I think we've changed our tactics this season. Clearly, last season we prided ourselves with passing the ball from the back, creating a lot of opportunities. This year, we're not going to get as much space as we had last season. So the fact that we've adjusted, we're using Mitrovic to his strengths, and to be honest, we caused problems right from the go. I think we were, there's a lot of intensity there, high press from our players. I was saying before the game, if we get at the Brentford defence, that's where we're going to get some joint success. If we give you too much space and probably too much respect, you're going to punish us like we did in the second half. But in that first half, certainly the first 35 minutes or so, we were excellent. Great goal to start with. But again, that was all a bit direct, one way, get out. And that we did against Liverpool a fortnight ago, getting straight out of that defence, and we caused Brentford a lot of problems. And I think you really struggled. And to be honest, it's only when Paulinho, our central defensive midfielder, got a yellow card that we started to withdraw from a few tackles in that back end of the first half, and you then started to create a bit more space and opportunities, and that's when you got the goal right to death at half time, and that was a different half time talk, right? So, but overall, I thought the intensity from both teams, for Brentford in the second half, Fulham in particular in the first, but we always had another goal in us. I always felt, whilst Brentford had a lot of possession, creating opportunity, so did we in the second half. And like you said, Matt, it could have gone either way. And from a neutral perspective, full house, sunny day, everyone was buzzing. And to be honest, it was a good spectacle, good game of football, 5 goals. We needed that victory because we've got 4 tough games coming up now. So that was always one. If you want to stay in the division, no respect to Brentford, these are the home games you've got to be looking to win, and then try to pick off some bonus points against some of the top teams. But overall, glad to be back at the ground. Great atmosphere, great result. Still got a bit of a sore throat, literally. But overall, it was an important 3 points, very, very important 3 points, confidence, and just to take into 4 difficult games coming up now.
Yeah, fair play. Listen, Dan, I'll bring you in on this one because for me, Mitrovic and Tony, I mean, I don't know if anyone plays fantasy Premier League football, but you'd be putting those 2 guys in at the moment. I mean, I know everyone's looking at Haaland and Jesus and others, but those 2 have had an unbelievable start to the season, man.
Yeah, I think Tony's in the top 5 for the most points any player's got in FPL so far. So that kind of gives you an idea. Yeah, they've both started the season really well. I think everyone thought you get the goals from Tony, but I think there was a bit more questions directed to Mitrovic coming back up to the Premier League. Having done so well in the Championship last year, and there's that kind of narrative that Mitrovic only scores in the second tier. But so far, he's proving everyone wrong, and yeah, they're looking great.
Yeah, listen, I feel personally like they're the 2 reasons that anybody would look at either of those sides and say, yeah, they've got a great chance of staying up. And I know that things can change and we're only a few games in, but when you look at teams that don't score goals, you're always worried. You're always worried. And, if you don't score goals, you better hope you don't concede them because that's always going to put you in trouble. And I'll come to you with that, Jeff, because I know that strikers are so important for every single club, and we'll come to Bournemouth in a little while. But do you feel like Brentford and Fulham, looking at their performances so far, are going to be in with a great shout of staying up this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny the narratives that people who know nothing really about clubs coming up from the Championship trot out. Mitrovic. Anyone who watched Mitrovic last year will know he scores a bundle of goals plays the 6-yard box really well. And he'll get on the end of crosses, and if you cross well for him, he'll score goals. And he's a quality centre forward. He's an international for Vip's sake, So why people are putting him down that he couldn't score beats me, because I think he's a quality finisher, and I think he'll score goals. I think the vulnerability for Fulham is at the back. Really, I think the goalkeeper and the centre halves look a little bit iffy and look like they might concede more goals than they currently are. So that's my concern for Fulham. For Brentford, obviously Brentford beat us in the playoffs to go up, and I think they've invested wisely. I think they've got a great coach. I think they play good football. I think Tony is a bit more of a known quantity this year, which might be a bit of a challenge for him. But you've just got to take every game. I mean, take every game as it comes. Sounds like a real cliche, but every game is difficult in the Premier League. Sometimes, as Brentford did last week against Man U, you get them on a good day and you can turn them over. Other times, it won't be the case. I mean, we're going to Liverpool on Saturday after that game that they lost to United, and I'm thinking they're probably going to be right up for that game, and we're going to face a fired up Liverpool at Anfield. I'm not really looking forward to it.
Fair play, man. Amelia, I'll come to you on Bernd Leno because obviously ex-Arsenal goalkeeper. I just want to know what your thoughts are on his performances to start this season because I haven't been watching Fulham in a analysis type of way. I've just literally seen him on Match of the Day. So, what have you made of him so far, mate?
Yeah, interestingly, he started on Saturday. That was his first game of the season, and to be honest, I was being one of Rodak, who's now gone down to number 2, has been a bit of a critic. As much as I loved him in the Championship, I've always doubted his ability in the Premier League. And Leno was a sort of the type of goalkeeper that we need someone a little bit more sort of bigger, more confident, and someone a little more dominant in that 6-yard box. And he started on Saturday. I'm surprised by that because Rodak was man of the match, arguably against Wolves the week before last, and he had a decent game against Liverpool. So the fact that clearly the manager had a little pep talk with him. I think clearly Leno came in to be number 1 keeper. He wasn't brought to warm up the bench. So I think he was just thrown in straight into the mix. And he had a reasonable game. There were moments when he looked assured, distributing the ball quite well. There are other moments when maybe he just needed to find his feet a little bit and maybe get some match time. But he's going to be here for the long haul unless his confidence drops and then he'll be dropped back to the bench. But, I know some of the Fulham have a decent. I think we have got a good keeper there, a good bargain signing from Arsenal. It's just a matter of getting that defence solidified. To be honest, we've had 3 good games, albeit we've conceded 2 goals against Brentford, which good finishing from your guys, Matt. But defensively, we need to be doing better there. And I think you've got Diop from West Ham, who played yesterday and didn't have a particularly good game, but again, that was his first game of the season. So we're going to start seeing some of these players integrating into the team. And once we get back a full strength squad, we've got a lot of injuries with our wingers as well. So we need to increase that depth. But overall, Leno, I think, will be here for the long haul. He's our number 1 keeper. Unless he drops form, then I expect him to stay there and keep his place at number 1.
Yeah, fair play, man. Fair play to you. And I hope Leno has a good career, man. I had nothing against him as an Arsenal goalkeeper, and I just feel that we needed to try and upgrade if we could. And I actually think Emi Martinez and Ramsdale have done that in terms of a modern day goalkeeper. I think their distribution's better. I think they've managed to prove themselves. So, but of course, I've got nothing against Leno. I think he's a great signing for Fulham. Matt, do you think that? This is did you see any massive weaknesses in the Brentford setup there in terms of their loss, or was it just one of those games? It was like, looked to me anyway, like it was like score one goal more than you type football at times. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll bore you with it throughout the season, but our defending from corners is abysmal. Like I said it in the preseason when we lost to Wolfsburg 4-0, 3 of them from corners, and I know you can only take so much from preseason, but it's just one of those things you wonder what happens on the training ground. Like, it's a known weakness. And we actually score a lot from set pieces as well. So not that it nullifies it, but we do well. We've got very creative set pieces. I think our old set piece coach actually went to Arsenal, Dan. But we do well attacking. Just defensively, there's this weird hybrid of like man marking and zonal. And you wonder if people know what they're doing, if they should be with the right man. And it's just frustrating from a fan perspective. You play really well in those games, and it takes a corner or something like that. Also, the goal in the first minute, Ben Mee, I think it was again, that just had a bit of a, Fulham did loads on the break as well. It wasn't like a ball given away in front of goal. They broke perfectly. But those silly mistakes, and you'll all bear testament to it, like you will get punished for those in the Prem. So you start to see them from corners, set pieces, silly balls at the back that may not directly lead to a goal, but lead to a turnover of play. You just will get punished. Ultimately, I still think we got enough to stay up. I still think we've got a very good team. I think there's, as I said numerous times, like the strength and depth of the squad. I'm kind of segueing into the Carabao Cup. Damsgaard yesterday played his first game for Brentford as well, which was great. 2-0 at Colchester. It looked like they did particularly well to kind of keep it 1-0 for a while. I think it's 0-0 at half time. But nothing so far has set alarm bells ringing. Just want to make sure that we keep going the way that we've been going. And as I said to Emilio, that game at the weekend, we could have maybe snatched a draw. I think maybe Fulham deserved to shade it. But as long as we keep playing the way that we play, I'm still pretty confident. I think we've got enough strength in that squad.
Yeah, I have to say I love the way that you always seem to fight Brentford, and I think Thomas Frank has got that mentality right in that setup, and I just don't see Brentford going down this season. I really don't. I've said that from the start, and I stand by it. They've shown me nothing to suggest that they're in massive trouble. So I'm going to stick with it. But Emilio, I've got to bring this comment up, man, because last night wasn't great for you. One Rovers Vlogs, it says, big up the panel, keep the quality content up. Good to see Fulham losing against Crawley last night, not just us. What happened last night, Emilio? What happened, bro?
It's the Mickey Mouse Cup, right? No, that's only, at the end of the day, look, it's a lot of none of those players who played yesterday are likely to start the weekend imminently. So we've got 4 or 5 new debutants, some junior players in the squad. So we should, we've still got to be doing better than that. I don't think we competed enough, but there's arguments that maybe the manager wanted to make a point to the owners that maybe the depth of the squad is not quite there yet, and is trying to hence putting in your fringe and your junior players into the squad. Then clearly they're not strong enough to even compete the likes of Crawley Town. But fair play to Crawley, they set themselves up to win. This is a big game for them. It's their cup final of the season, arguably speaking. So let them enjoy the moment, really, to be honest. But again, same old adage, we can focus on the Premier League, and we'll go back to the team that beat Brentford at the weekend against Arsenal. Obviously, a much tougher game at your ground, Dan. But we'll give it a good old fist, hopefully. But as far as I'm concerned, it's disappointing. I would have liked to have seen not say a cup run, but using these cup games as an opportunity for some of these fringe players to get more game time, get fit, etc. That's why I see the benefit of those type of games versus playing reserve games and so forth. But we didn't show up, and you've got to give all credit to Crawley Town last night. But yeah, it was just, let's move on and focus on the next 4 games, which are going to be key to our Premier League status.
Fair play. And just before I bring Dan and Jeff in, Matt, like, in all seriousness, this Carabao Cup for a team like Brentford, and for all of your teams on the panel, actually, like, do you see this as one that you could go forward into the deep stages of easier than the FA Cup, or do you see it as the same kind of prize at the end?
I think we've done quite well in the Carabao the last couple of seasons. I think it is, and it is one of those things. And we had the conversation. I had a conversation with some the other week about it's different when you come up from the Championship, because where you're used to winning week in and week out, and you get that glory at the end of the season. I think, without speaking disrespectfully for all of us, on the relegation show, it does become a bit defeatist after a while. You're going away to certain teams, you might get 1 or 2 scalps per season, and it's great, and you live off that. But ultimately, you're going to be hovering around the bottom. So the Carabao Cup is really a chance to get that trophy. And I think we've been quite close to it in the last few years. It is dangerous, and I understand, every time Brentford go out in the Cup, the FA Cup, the Carabao, I'm like, now we can focus on the league. We need to put all of our resources towards that. But it is nice because realistically, I think the biggest thing you can hope for is survival, and maybe on a whim, a few teams have done it, like getting European football out of nowhere. But really and truly, FA Cup is still dominated by the likes of Arsenal, by the likes of City and Liverpool. So the Carabao Cup does give the smaller teams a chance to actually compete and get something in the league that's maybe a bit more of an accolade than just surviving, which is, by no means like a small thing, but it's great. But yeah, I like the idea of us doing well. I think when the fixtures start piling up at Christmas and January and going into Feb, then that's when you wonder how kind of important it is. But obviously the Carabao's done quite early in the season. So I would probably personally take a Carabao run on top of an FA Cup. I used to love the FA Cup when we were like League One and League Two, and you get the big teams, as we said the other week, that come to the smaller grounds and absolutely despise it. But I think for all of us in the chat, bar yesterday, the Carabao Cup was an attainable trophy for all of us. So I think it's worth a run. I think it's worth having a crack at, and to celebrate a single trophy would be amazing for the likes of our clubs.
Yeah, I hear that. Let's come to you, Dan.
Yeah, I see them equally.
Go on, mate.
To be honest, I see them equally. I think a cup run is always exciting for us. I remember when Saints have had some decent cup runs over the last couple of seasons. We got to the League Cup final in 2017 and deserved to win that game. It was a real disappointment late on against Man United when Ibrahimovic scored that late goal. We were so close to a trophy that day. I think we've got into 2 semi-finals of the FA Cup since then. So we've done all right. Cup runs are a big part of our kind of philosophy. We're never going to go and get into the top 6 now, especially how we are at the moment. Why wouldn't we go for a cup run? You have to have a bit of luck with the draws. We had that for the last round, obviously, that we won last night with Cambridge, drawing League One opposition. We'll have to see who we get tonight in the 3rd round. But I always want to see our team go for it. I think Ralph's always good at he's very good at finding the balance between putting in strong players but giving a few youngsters debuts. We gave 3 youngsters debuts last night, and one of them scored. So it's quite a nice story there. Southampton's known for bringing through youth as well, so we're always going to integrate those youngsters. But predominantly, Ralph always wants to prioritise the cups.
Yeah, well, let's stick with you, man. And Premier League games was looking good, man. Leicester are a team that have a lot of problems at the moment. But to be fair to you, Leicester showed glimpses against Arsenal that they have still got some quality. So what did you make of the game against them, mate?
They showed glimpses of quality pretty much until they scored their goal. And then once they scored their goal, they capitulated. And that's got to come down to in-game management. I know there's been a lot of criticism directed at Brendan Rodgers individuals. It's a difficult situation as well, what they've got going on with Fofana and Tielemans off the pitch. But yeah, from a Saints perspective, I thought, I said last week, if we start the game with the same system that finished the Leeds game, we go and get something. And we started with pretty much the same team that finished off and got 2 goals later on against Leeds, and obviously took the points. It was a bit weird at the start to see Shea on the bench. I mean, there'd been a bit of to and fro regarding whether or not he was injured, but he made the bench. Obviously, we always want to see him start. And he made the impact. He made the impact off the bench. I thought we were pretty unlucky to go behind. I thought it was a pretty level game. The game needed a moment like that, if anyone's seen the Maddison free kick. But yeah, like I said, as soon as Leicester scored, they capitulated, and we were brilliant for the last 35 minutes really, and should have probably scored more.
Yeah, I agree. And is it fair to say at the moment, Dan, that your youngsters are the ones that are really impressing?
Yeah, the new signings, to be honest, Dan, most of them are young, but I think Romeo Lavia had another great game, probably his worst out of the 3, which is kind of saying a lot of how he's kind of started his time in the Prem. But no, we're seeing some good signs. I thought Bella Kotchap at the back, 20 years old, the centre back we got from Bochum in the summer, I thought he was brilliant again, next to Mohamed Salisu in a 4. He's looking excellent. Gineppo from nowhere, he's been solid at left back. He's predominantly a winger, and we kind of thought his time at Saints was over, but he's proving everyone wrong there. And Walker Peters, he's the star man for me in the defence. So I think the new signings are all impressing. Joe Aribo's had a good start. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Derby match of the day; that was horrific. But besides that, he's looking good. So yeah, I'm very pleased with our business.
This Mara as well. There's something about him I quite like. Is it Mara?
Yeah,
Have I got that right?
Yeah. He started against Leicester. He's probably more of a figure at up front than Adam Armstrong was, but came off for Shea, and obviously that was the decision that paid off in the game. He's just turned 20. He's going to take time. He's just come from Ligue 1. But so far we're liking what we've seen from him. I thought last night would have been a really good opportunity to start him, to be honest with you, against the League One opposition, maybe get a goal to get that confidence going. But he came off the bench, didn't really do much. The game was over anyway. So I don't think he's going to be a regular starter for us just yet. But from what we've seen so far, those glimpses, you can tell it's just going to take a little bit of management from Ralph, a little bit of time. I think if we go on a cup run, that's going to be the perfect opportunity to develop him. But yeah, again, I'm very pleased with our business. Yeah,
fair play, man. Listen, Southampton fans are always funny when it comes to Ralph Hasenhüttl. I don't actually know if they like him or hate him, but you've got to be okay at the moment with the players he's brought in and obviously what he's done with the club. And I think he's quite underrated in a way. I know it sounds mad saying that for a team that always floats around the relegation and gets safe, but I think he's done a great job. And I just wanted to bring this comment, Dan, just quickly, because I haven't heard anything about this and I don't know if this is true. Rumours that Romeo is on his way out of the club. Anything you've heard about that?
Yeah, I think he might be off. From what I understand, he's looking for a new challenge, and it's going to be Girona over in Spain. Going back to his homeland. I mean, he's had, I think he's had 8 years at Southampton. He's been a fantastic servant, and I think he deserves the opportunity if he wants a change of scene to go back to Spain. He's lost his place in the side. Lavia's come in and looked brilliant alongside Ward-Prowse. Off the top of my head, I think he's 30, 31. So for me, I think if we can agree a fee, I think it's the right move for him because, he's not getting any younger. I think he's got 1 year left in his contract and he's lost his place in the team.
Yeah, fair play, man. Fair play. He has. And it's a player that I quite liked, if I'm honest. He was at Chelsea, wasn't he, over in Spain, and then come over. And I thought, yeah, he does a job in defensive midfield. He's quite solid and he keeps the ball nicely, but he hasn't really kind of paid off from there, if that makes sense. I think with Ward-Prowse, he's always kind of
Yeah.
been the one everyone talks about.
Yeah, no, I think he's underrated. And I'm surprised he's lost his place so quickly. But if he's not playing, then he's going to be looking for a move away. I think over the summer there was always going to be the decision whether we're going to extend his contract beyond the 1 year he's got left or bring someone else in. And obviously we brought someone else in. I mean, we still want to go and get James Garner according to reports. So we could still be adding another midfielder. I know Ainsley Maitland-Niles has been linked today. Whatever you think about that, Dan, but yeah, I think he deserves a move if that's what he wants. He's been a fantastic servant. We should give him what he wants, really.
Fair play, man. Ainsley Maitland-Niles would be a great signing for you, by the way. What Maitland-Niles brings is versatility, athleticism, 110%, works hard, never gives up. The problem with him sometimes is that the mentality is not always there. So, like one game, you'll see him absolutely outstanding, and then he'll lose his head a bit. And sometimes he looks a little bit too laid back, like almost horizontal in some of the way that he plays. But actually, when you look at his ability on the ball and how he can play in any position, it'll be great for you. And let's not forget that as a wing back or a fullback, he got into the England setup under Gareth Southgate not long ago, got to the FA Cup final and got us to the final and won it for us playing at left wing back ahead of Bukayo Saka. People forget. I think he's still got something to give. He's 24, something like that. He's not very, very old. So he's not a player that you look at and think he's a has-been. He's definitely got enough potential to hit a high ceiling. A lot of people give him stick because he's never managed to settle anywhere, and that could be a big problem. You don't sometimes get that with players, don't you? Like Ravel Morrison, who had all the talent but just didn't have the mentality to settle anywhere. You get that with some other players as well, like Adil Tarap, players like that. I'm hoping Maitland-Niles isn't one of those guys because I think the talent there he's got it. He knows how to play football. So I don't think he's going to hit the higher levels. I don't think he's going to make it at Arsenal, that's for sure. But I do think he'd be a good signing for a team like Southampton. And I think that he can come in and play a lot of positions for you. There's a lot of rumours that he wanted to play in midfield, and that's why he hasn't really settled. I disagree with that now. I know someone who knows his brother, and apparently that's all just rubbish. He'll play wherever he's told to play. And at fullback, I think that is pretty much his position. He's like a kind of fullback, wingback for me, from what I've seen. So I don't know what sort of position you're looking at playing him in, Dan, but maybe midfield.
We need him at right back. We need him at right back. We need Walker Peters covered while Livermento's still got his ACL. So yeah, for me, if it was a loan, I think that would make the most sense. I don't really see how he gets into the team as a regular right now, but yeah, I'll be up for it. He's got England caps. He's got plenty of appearances for Arsenal. Like you say, potential there, but at 24. So yeah, I'll be all for it.
Yeah, fair play, man. Fair play. Jeff, let's come to you, man.
You're not going to be awkward about Arsenal, for me, Dan.
I know it's going to be awkward, bro, because obviously I'm a Gooner, and it's like, I loved the weekend. I thought it was a fantastic weekend for me. I went down there; it was sunshine. Your stadium, by the way, is so good, man. I love that stadium. Like the away atmosphere is so good. It's just the way that it's so compact, close to the pitch. Loved it. The only thing is, I proper needed sunglasses that were up here because the sun was just the worst angle for us. But do you know what, mate? Jokes aside, I think this Arsenal side would have struggled a few seasons ago. I spoke to the Back in the Net podcast with Sam after the game, and I really believe that because you have physical attributes like Kiefer Moore, like Philip Billing, that over the years would have probably given us a lot more problem. Now, I think what we can do as a compliment and be encouraged as an Arsenal fan is that Arsenal don't get bullied like that. This team doesn't anyway. We used to have a real soft underbelly, and players like that used to cause us absolute nightmares. And when I see Kiefer Moore, I'm like 6'6" or whatever he is, comes up against a 6'4" Saliba, a Gabriel, a Thomas Partey, a Granit Xhaka, a Ben White, and it's a little bit different now. So I want to ask you what you made of the performance, but also seeing as I'm on here, what you made of Arsenal's performance, because I'm always interested in the opposition, bro. So go for it, man.
Well, I thought Arsenal were good, but let me talk about us first, because the way the game set up was a lot like we played against other teams in the Championship last year. We saw a load of teams set a low block against us, and we played high possession football. We were one of the most possession-led teams in the Championship, as I'm sure Emilia will remember. And we're sort of transitioning to a team like Millwall now in the Championship against us, we're trying to play that way against the better teams in the Premier League. And I think there are a couple of things with that. Number one, I don't think we're particularly got the players who can make that transition very easily. And certainly when it's a team like Arsenal or City who are very good at playing against that low block, I think we're not quite experienced enough to do it well enough with the players that we've currently got. We had a number of players who were making sort of first appearances. Senesi, the Argentinian, who got bullied by Jesus for that first goal. I mean, that's his first start. I think Parker wanted to throw him in to have a look at him, but I think he needs a bit of work before he really can play that position that they asked him to play, and he got pulled at half-time, as you saw. And I think also when you're playing that low block defensive line against a team like Arsenal and a team like City, you've got to be really good at holding that line. 2 of your goals we conceded were marginal offsides. And in fact, you got the benefit. They were onside. But if we were smarter, then we could have called you off on both of those goals. And I think that is just very frustrating because that's work on the training ground. It's work in that shape. And I'm just not sure that we're really cut out to play a low block against a really good team. It worked against Villa because Villa are pretty average. And in fact, they should be on this call as well because they're relegation fodder at the moment, I think. But against teams like City and Arsenal and dare I say Liverpool on Saturday, I think we're going to struggle playing that way with the personnel we've got, with the experience we've got. So that I think is part of my reaction to that game. I think also we're not street smart enough in the Premier League. We showed you way too much respect. You look at the foul count. I mean, we barely got near you, which wasn't all because you were running rings around us. It's because we weren't close enough and putting you off your game as much as we should have done. And I think that was quite frustrating as well when you look at that and you think, stop those attacks before they get over the halfway line. It's what Man City did to us the other week. So why can't we do it back to teams from the top 6? We're just not smart enough yet at that.
And what's your?
I think that's fair.
Sorry, Dan. I was going to say about
no, go on a minute.
Parker. You know, again, obviously we're in a similar position when we got promoted a couple of years ago. He probably had more people against him than for him. You know, but then again, you know, as far as I'm concerned, he got us promoted, and you've got to give him a chance. But you know, I look at his style of football, brand of football, the lack of goals that we scored. You mentioned at the beginning of the call, Dan. You know, without your goals, you're not going to win any games or get any points. And with 9 goals in 19 games at home last 2 years ago was appalling. So, what's the fans' views? You know, for Parker, against Parker, mixed.
Yeah, it's a bit mixed. I think Scott Parker is somebody that we warmed to with the run-in last season. You know, you remember the games that we had, particularly against Forest. I mean, that half-time chat that he did that got viral on YouTube was fantastic, and it won a lot of fans over. And you can definitely see the passion. I mean, take last night against Norwich. Okay, so we took a team of under-21s and a few first-teamers, not many. It was mostly under-21s and reserves. Took them to Norwich, who put out pretty much their first team against us. They fancied it last night. Conceded 1-0 down, then 2-1 down, came back both times. And actually, the under-21s were magnificent. And that team spirit that Parker's got within the squad, you could see it last night. It is definitely there. And it was definitely there against Villa first game. I think when our season starts properly against Wolves after this Liverpool game, I think you might see that come to the fore. I think he's made some shrewd acquisitions. I think Tavernier is a really good player, and I think he's gonna shine. He didn't really get much chance against Arsenal, but Kiefer Moore is going to be a handful. I mean, he was a handful for Arsenal even though he was playing pretty much single-handedly against your back three for much of that game. You know, he still won some decent headers, won some good free kicks for us with Solanke in that team as well alongside him. I think we'll do okay. I think we've got enough about us, and Parker's got enough of a spirit about us that I think we'll be okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I personally feel like you've hit the nail on the head in terms of what Scott Parker brings, and that is team spirit and definitely motivation. And I think we saw that at Fulham when they went up. It looked to me like they were all connected in together. It's a hard job, man. The Premier League's not easy. I mean, look at those fixtures: Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool. But this is what everybody wants. You know, you can sit there and moan about fixtures, and some people do, to be fair. They go, oh, have you seen our run of fixtures? It's what it's like in the Premier League, man. There's no easy game. If you want to be in there, you've got to be playing these teams. So, but I mean, I'll bring this comment up really, Jeff, for you, because I think Nick Nack is right here. Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, they're not the games that will define your season. Like, how do you see that? Do you go into those games as a Bournemouth fan thinking, do you know what? I'll take a point, I'll be delighted. Or do you think, no, let's have a go and try and take 3 points? Like, where does your mindset at with those sort of games?
Well, so of the top 6 teams, only one of them we haven't ever taken any points off at all, and that's Man City. So, you know, that shows that we do go into those games with some belief that we can get something. I don't think we started the game particularly well against Arsenal with that belief, but if we have that belief, I think we can nick points. You can see us playing quite defensively, and with Parker, as Emilio will know, you know, he went to Liverpool and got a result for Fulham in their season a couple of seasons back. So it can be done the way that Parker wants to play. I just think he's absolutely right. It won't define our season. The issue is that if you get 3 of those games on the bounce, as we've had, or as we're going to get with Saturday's game, it's what it does to the confidence of the team. You know, if you lose 3 on the bounce and then suddenly, you know, you come up against Wolves, as we will do, and that's more of a 50-50 game. Then if we lose that as well and it's 4 on the bounce, you know what it's like. It's relentless, the Premier League, and suddenly you're in a bad run of form and everybody's talking to you as at the bottom of the table. I mean, look at United. They were going to get relegated after they lost to Brentford. It's tough, you know. Every little run becomes a bigger run, and how that affects the self-belief of the players, I think, is going to be critical. If we can still believe in ourselves and we can pass the ball, we're a good passing team. We don't always have to go long ball to Kiefer Moore. We can cause problems for a lot of teams in this division, as we did against Villa. You know, we deserved to win that game 2-0. They didn't get a sniff at all, certainly in that second half. And I'm looking forward to more games against teams of that level where I think we'll pick up points.
Yeah, fair play to you, man. And just lastly, before I come to the other lads, Mr. Padza says, Jeff, what did you make of Scott Parker's post-match interview? He went in on the players, and some Bournemouth fans thought he was being quite harsh. What do you reckon? I haven't heard about this. Is this true?
Yeah, I mean, he basically said he was bitterly disappointed in the first half that the players didn't show up, and Parker is he's not the most articulate of managers. You know, he's not Jurgen Klopp. He's not the type who's gonna necessarily express himself in the best way. What I think we're getting from him as Bournemouth fans is a lot more honesty this season. You know, I think he feels a lot more confident about how he relates to the fans. And, you know, he's not afraid to say, call out the players when they don't perform. I mean, a lot of the fans thought this is really too passive, the way we played against you in that first half. It was awful. And so, you know, he recognised that, and, you know, he pins it on the players, and they came out, performed in the second half. I don't mind that. You know, if he wants to call out the players and then they get a performance like they did against Norwich last night, that's fine. That's fine. So long as the players believe in him, I'm okay with Parker.
Yeah, fair play to you, man. We're going to do, for the last section of the show, something we haven't done yet, which is going to be a little bit prediction stuff. So we're going to look at 2 games, because all of us are going to be having 2 games until we next meet next Friday, because we're all playing midweek again. So we're going to try and do a show on the Thursday or Friday of next week. So we'll start with Matt. Your 2 games, what are you saying in relation to Brentford, man? And just to let you know, before you answer that, Matt, my Wi-Fi keeps coming in and out, guys. So apologies if you can only hear bits of me. But go for it, Matt. What do you reckon?
No worries. I know our first one's Everton. I don't actually know what our second game is. I'll have a look. But, well, first and foremost, the Everton game at home. We're at home. We need to be winning that. I think I went to Everton away last season, and though we got 3 points, it's still a tough place to go. I still think they're a team that are in a lot of trouble. I said it the other week. Like, I think Lampard will be the first managerial casualty this year. But yeah, I can see us winning, and I know every team and every fan of every team, likes of us, think there's a possibility of going into meltdown, which Brentford occasionally do. But on paper, in theory, we should be beating that Everton side. I think with obviously Richarlison gone, with thingy up front who's injured again, Calvert-Lewin injured again. Like, I don't see much in that team. I think we should be taking points. Unfortunately, at the moment, we haven't got our central defensive pairing quite sorted, as it's blatant to see against Fulham. So I think we probably will concede. The corner thing is still a massive problem, but I can see us winning 3-1, maybe 4-1 in that game.
Fair play, man. You got Palace as well.
Oh, it's Palace away, isn't it? I think we drew 0-0 or 1-1 last season there. I think Palace look very good at the moment. I think they're a class side. I've always thought Zaha was pretty amazing. Without being boring, I know we say it week in, week out here that you win your home games, and if you can nick a point away from home, then great. But I'd love a point away at Palace. I think again our defensive frailties at the moment might play a part in the scoreline. I would say maybe 1-0 Palace. I see them just sneaking it, which again, very hard place to go. Not lack of confidence from us, but I think it's one of those games in the grand scheme of things. If we don't get a point there, it's not the end of the world. Anything we get at Selhurst Park is a bonus. Though I'll take that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. A lot of the big clubs go there and say this is a really tough place to go. So I think you're being quite realistic there. Dan, I've just looked at your two fixtures, man. Man United and Chelsea.
Both at home. Playing Man United just after their winning performance against Liverpool. You know what? They've got this funny knack of going and pulling out a worldie like that and then just going back to being Man United again the following week. So I reckon I'm going to go confident in the Man United one and say we're going to get a point. But Chelsea, our home form against them since we've been back up for the last 11 years has just been abysmal. I don't think we've beaten them at St Mary's since we were promoted in 2012. So Raheem Sterling loves a goal against us. Yeah, I think Chelsea will beat us pretty comfortably, but I'll try and be confident for one of them. I'll say we'll get a point against United.
Fair play, man. I love it. I love. Listen, I hope you beat both of them.
So it's
you're a bit of a bogey team to United, aren't you?
Yeah, we to be fair, right? This is so strange because we always play United at home early in the season, and they've usually been 1-1 draws. So I'm gonna go 1-1. We'll go 1-1, and we'll see what happens.
Fair play, man. Neither side are playing amazing at the moment. I know United were good, but Liverpool were shocking. I've never seen Liverpool that bad in my life. Jesus Christ. I bet you, though, both teams won't be like that against our teams. Trust me, they'll turn up. You know what I mean? It's that luck, isn't it? That's the way it is. Emilio, I think you've got Arsenal and Brighton, I believe. Two tough games, mate.
Yeah, very tough games. The Arsenal game, again, it's what the guys were saying about to Jeff. It's that the Arsenal game is not going to define our season. I think it's all about the manner of the performance. Maybe hopefully we don't pick up any more injuries in the lead up to that game. So it's played with pride. Don't give you as much respect. I think the defense are going to be kept on their toes for 90 minutes, so that's going to be the key thing. So it'll be interesting to see how Silva sets a team up. Clearly, it's all about keeping it tight. Don't concede early like Bournemouth did against yourselves on Saturday. And it's all about, like I said, playing with a bit of pride, confidence. Even if we lose that game, which we likely will do, it's not the end of the world. For me, it's a Brighton game. So I predict we're going to lose at Arsenal. The question is, if we can keep it to less than a 2-goal margin, I'll be happy with that. And maybe on another day, you never know, nick a point. Your 100% unbeaten run, we'll have to end at some point. So you never know. Miracles do happen. And, we gave you a good fight there a couple of seasons ago when I think we should have won that game. And we did just with literally seconds to go. Last kick of the game, you nicked an equaliser.
Yeah.
But overall, different squad, different manager, different way of playing football. And I think it's all about playing with pride on Saturday. So, but Brighton's a key game for me. Beginning the season, you look at this fixture, and you've got to pick up 3 points if you want to stay up in this division against the likes of Brighton. And I'm not disrespecting them. I do have a soft spot for Brighton. I've got a lot of family. My wife's side of the family is from Brighton as well, so she'll be following them rather than the Fulham. So, but if we can get a goal and get ahead against Brighton, they don't score many goals, and my worry is if they get ahead of us, we're going to struggle to break that defence down. They're difficult to play against, very tight. We know they don't score many goals, but once they get their noses in front, they're difficult to break down. So if we do what we did against Brentford, like we did against Liverpool, let's get at them, hurt them, create chances. And if we can get that first goal, then there's an opportunity we can nick at least a draw, if not a victory. So I'm going to be quite bullish. I think we can beat Brighton next week. I think we can beat them 2-1, maybe 1-0. But And then that's the key thing. Then we've got Tottenham and Chelsea back to back thereafter. So again, you can see 12 points. We've got to pick up 3 points from those 4 games, the minimum. Otherwise, we're back down into the mire. At the moment, we're in the European places. The other couple of days ago, we can easily get back into the relegation positions if we lose all the next 4 games. So yeah, I'm confident we can get something against Brighton. I'm sticking my neck out that we'll beat them by 2-1.
There we go, man. Listen, I think that Brighton-Fulham game is going to be great. And I'll tell you why. I think they're 2 of the teams that have really impressed me this season. Along with Leeds, who have been a bit of a surprise package for me. I think Fulham and Brighton have been really good. And I said this on last night's show with Maz, who's our Brighton fan. I just love Graham Potter, man. Like, he seems to just get rid of his best players every single year and just replace them. And just like, they've replaced Bissouma with that Caicedo, who now apparently Man United want. They've got that new Villarreal left back that they signed instead of Cucurella, who looks quality. They just seem to just replace them. They replaced Ben White. Do you know what I mean? They, every single season, they've sold someone for a ridiculous amount of money. And I just think big up Graham Potter, man, and their scouting and recruitment. I think he's been a sensational manager. And if I'm honest, if there's anybody that looks to be sacking their managers, they're going to be all over him. You know what I mean? And if there's any pressure at all on Gareth Southgate, he's the one I'd go for England, 100%. Because I think he's done superb over in Sweden, learnt his trade over there, got himself into a great position at Swansea, then to get him the Brighton job and to do what he's done with them. Man, he's been scoring goals with players like Danny Welbeck, who, you know, and players like Trossard and Lallana and all that, Mopay. You think, crikey, like, how's he doing that with them? You know, it's mad. So fair play to him. And Fulham, likewise, have really impressed me so far. So I think that's going to be interesting. Jeff, if I'm right, Liverpool and Wolves, is that right?
Yeah, you're right. So shall I start with the positives?
Go for it.
Okay, Parker's got a 100% record at Anfield as a Premier League manager.
Ooh.
I've got a 100% record on the games that I'm going to so far this season.
Oh.
What else? And they got turned over by Man United, and they look so slow and riven with injuries. I think they've missed Mane. Mane's coming out slagging off Klopp this week, which ain't good for the camp. But wow. You know, you got to look at it and think there's got to be a reaction at Anfield. They must be looking at the fixture thinking that's a game where we're going to hammer them and get the fans behind us again. So, you know, first 10-15 minutes going to be critical. We haven't been good in the last 2 games in the first 10-15 minutes. So if we get out of there with a 2-0 defeat, that would probably be a decent performance from us. But you never know. It's a funny game, and there's been no easy games in the Premier League this season. Absolutely. You know, if you look at some of the fixtures, some of the results, could be a surprise, but I doubt it. Wolves, on the other hand, I think Wolves look a bit toothless up front, and they play a lot of possession. I saw them against Spurs, and I thought, actually, that is a game that could be winnable. They'll have a lot of the ball, but if we get in front again, I think I can see us winning that one. So 1-0 that one.
Fair play to you, man. Fair play to you. I saw a stat today that really surprised me and shocked me, and I don't normally do this sort of spooky, eerie stuff, but Klopp had 7 seasons with Mainz when he was first there, and it went wrong for him. He had 7 seasons at Dortmund, and it ended up going wrong for him. This is his 7th year at Liverpool. Let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. I honestly believe they're still in a title race and they'll turn it around. But I think it could be interesting to see what happens because they're certainly looking like they're struggling at the moment. Last question for me is one that's come from the comments. Mr. Pads asked this earlier. Says, Dan, can you ask them what positions each team still need to strengthen? The transfer window's open for another week now. It's coming to a close. A lot's been going on today. I see that Newcastle were doing a madness with Alexander Isak for around 50 to 60 million. Who's a good centre forward from Real Sociedad that we were linked with, to be fair. Also today, I think Chelsea are doing a madness and trying to buy a young kid called Anthony Gordon for 60 million. I mean, this is unbelievable. Isn't it? What is going on there, man? That is just absolute crazy. Oh my God. Apparently Everton are really annoyed because they rejected it. The fans are like, what are you doing? Just take the money, man. Jesus. And obviously Man United are doing a madness, going up to 80 million now for another Ajax player, Anthony. This De Jong stuff won't go away. Chelsea are linked with Aubameyang and Fofana and obviously Gordon. But what's going on with your teams, man? Let's start with you, Matt. Where do you think you still need to strengthen and what are the rumours so far, bro?
Again, we touched on it last week's show, and without sounding a bit like a cop-out, I'm quite happy with the business that we've done. I think it's been quite shrewd to reiterate for the millionth time, like I think, you know, in terms of wage structure, we can't be breaking the bank. For me, I do see a few bids coming in for Tony in this last week, and I think we need to keep a hold of Tony. But yeah, bar that, I'm happy in terms of realistic expectation. I'm happy with what we've done. I think we're still bringing a few players for the B team, which I don't know if you guys are aware, but years ago Brentford got rid of their youth team, and now the B team is the slightly older players that have been released. There's a few good lads coming through there, which I think the ultimate goal is to have them in the first team within 1, 2, or 3 seasons. Yeah, I'm happy. I think as long as we hold on to the squad we got at the moment, no qualms to the transfer window. I just want to keep it as it is. Defensively, our centre backs, we haven't found a good, strong enough pairing yet, but there is cover there. So Ethan Pinnock's still out injured. Christopher Ayers almost back from injury as well. The guy that came from Celtic, who looked amazing for us. A lot of big teams tipped to sign him as well, and probably a bit of a blessing that he's been injured during the transfer window, so he can't put himself in the shop front. But yeah, no, happy with it. Think we've got enough there. I don't think we really need to do much to be where we want to be honest.
Wow, such a positive, like, real fan there, Match. I mean, but don't want anyone. Just keep us side. Don't want anybody else, man. Love it. Love that, man. Dan, what about yourself, bro?
I think if we're going to strengthen any position, we need a striker. I think we need to be breaking the bank. If we want a decent forward, that's going to score us enough goals to not only keep us in the Premier League, but knock on the door of the top half. If that's really, you know, that's what the board is saying we want to do, they need to show a bit of ambition. Look, I'm happy with our window. I think the last week and a bit, we're going to see more outgoings in terms of incomings. We've got Deadwood that needs to go. The likes of Jack Stevens. He's probably the main one at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen with Oriol Romeu. There are a couple others. Jan Bednarek's on that list probably as well. So we'll see what happens. But in terms of links, Benfica's Gonçalo Ramos is the main one for us. I think we've held talks with his representatives, but the main problem is Wolves are also interested, and it's obviously a Portuguese striker. Striker. So if you've got Wolves interested in a Portuguese player, you've got a bit of an issue there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think a lot of Saints fans, if you'd asked them at the beginning of the window, based on what we've done so far, I think a lot of them would have been happy. But the one thing we haven't done yet, which I think under new ownership a lot of people wanted to see, was us breaking our record transfer fee. Because to be honest, in the Premier League nowadays, it's pennies. You know, our record fee is 20 million for Danny Ings, which was 3 years ago now. You know, we want to be seeing a bit more ambition in terms of a financial perspective, really show a bit of vigor in the transfer market and go and spend, you know, a record fee for a forward. So we'll see. I think if we're going to sign anyone, it's going to be that Gonçalo Ramos. I think we're talking 25, 30 mil. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think one player in, a couple of Deadwood players out.
Man, centre forwards are hard to come by, man. That's a new name I've not heard of. There are a lot of links with Everton, with Ben Brereton Brereton Diaz, should I say, from Blackburn. And I don't know if that's the sort of centre forward you'd be looking at. But there are some talents in the Championship that can do a job, Dan. So it'll be interesting to see.
We made a club record bid for Liam Delap, but obviously he's now gone to Stoke on loan because he fits our profile. You know, players from the Premier League too. You know, coming through, young English talent as well. But Man City wanted to keep him for a bit, give him a year of experience on loan, so he's gone to Stoke instead. We were going to pay something like 25 million, which is kind of nuts when you look at it now. But yeah, centre forwards are hard to come by, and that's, you know, there's a reason for that. They're the most expensive. They put the ball in the back of the net. That's what we need. Yeah. I think it is absolutely imperative we keep Shea Adams. Everton seem to be stamping up their interest, especially if they get some money from Gordon. So we need to keep him, get a new striker and to play alongside him, because you can't rely on Mara. And to be honest, Adam Armstrong's been a disaster so far. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm quietly optimistic that we can get at bare minimum a new striker in. I think we could do that.
Fair play to you, man. Listen, Jeff, I said to Sam when we played Bournemouth that I haven't been too impressed with Bournemouth's transfer window so far. Do you think there's anything that you might see Bournemouth doing, and where do you think you need to strengthen, mate?
Well, word is we're getting close to a centre half, and apparently we're in for a winger as well. So I think the centre half is Senesi was a centre-half, but maybe the centre-half is still out there somewhere. And I think we do need that extra defensive experience, really, which we don't have at the moment. A winger I'm not so sure about because we let Dembele go today to Besiktas and he's a winger, so I don't quite understand that. To me, I'd be worried if Kiefer Moore and Solanke are both out because we aren't going to score any goals. So I think a striker is actually important, and you can't rely on an under-21 like Sadie, who played really well against Norwich last night, stepping up to Premier League and scoring goals. So yeah, still got a few holes, but transfer window, it's a bit of a mystery really. And some of the players we bought in haven't actually played yet. Ryan Fredericks hasn't played. Rothwell, who we signed from Blackburn, who's highly rated, hasn't played because they've both been injured. So maybe the best is still yet to come.
Maybe, man. I think Bournemouth do need a couple, but I don't look at their side and think, oh my God, disaster. But I think they definitely need a little bit of sort of that strength in depth, isn't it? Particularly this season with 5 subs and with the World Cup year. It's going to be a real key factor for me.
Don't forget, Dan, we've got David Brooks coming back at some point as well.
Yes.
I think he'll make a difference.
Yes.
He'll feel like a new signing because we haven't had him for a year.
Honestly, great for me as well, and great story as well. Great positive story for that. That's horrendous. One of a good friend of mine does a charity called Gooners versus Cancer, and it's for leukemia and lymphoma. And I do think that story has kind of touched a lot of Gooners because of that charity. And I hope he comes back as great as he was, because what a player, by the way. I thought he was one of your best players at one stage, and a couple of years ago, and under Eddie Howe, I was like, who's this kid? I think Man United even wanted him at one stage for a ridiculous fee. So I hope he comes back and hasn't had any effect from that. So good luck to him, man. I hope that goes well. Emilio, you can finish the show off, mate. Fulham, what do they need, man?
I still think we're three or four players short. I'll be honest with you. I think we've picked up 2 knocks.
Look at this. Emilio's greedy, isn't he? Look at this. He wants 4 players in a week. Like, what's happening?
Well, Harry Wilson's got an injury, so again, I think even though we've done well without him, I think we're going to start missing him in some of these key games. I think he's adds a lot of quality, lots of assists, causes defensive problems, and can score goals as well. So he's probably due back in the next month or so. And Salomon we bought from Shakhtar Donetsk, Israeli international. Again, he picked up a meniscus tear against Liverpool 4 months ago, so he's out for a few months. So, and Cabana picked up a knock against Brentford. So yeah, we're a bit light with sort of attacking wide options, to be honest. So the Kluivert deal from Roma seems to be dragging on a bit like the Leno deal. But I think if they want him enough, just put the money on the table and just buy it and just get him out right. Roma want to sell him. I think we want to sort of negotiate on sort of option to buy longer term, but he's a critical sign. I think again, but an unknown quality in the Premier League, but he'll add depth and squad to the squad. Mopé's been heavily linked as well. I'm not a Mopé fan. I don't think he scores enough goals for me. Clever, intelligent, but his strike rate is very, very poor. But clearly, we need a backup to Mitrovic. If Mitrovic is injured or gets suspended, then where are the goals coming from? So, an attacking players, we're desperate for that. We've been desperate for that for 2 or 3 seasons now, and hope if the Mopé deal is the best we can get, it's better than nothing, I guess. But Brighton, I think, are wanting about 15 million for him because he's at the end. This is the last year of his contract before he wants to move on from the club. So, and then I think central midfield. I still think defensive holding midfield. I know Palhinha's had a great start to the season. We're lacking a bit of depth there as well. So I think we need someone else as a backup playing that sort of holding central midfield role, and a left back as well. I think we've only got one option. We're going to let 1 or 2 players go on loan once we get some strategic signings. So that's why I think we can get 3 or 4 sort of more permanent long-term signings, then you'll start to see some of the sort of fringe players being released on loan or sold to other clubs, especially in the Championship. So yeah, to be honest, we're still 3 players short minimum.
Wow. Yeah, fair play to you, man. Listen, we're going to wrap it up after one last thing. I need one name from everyone really quickly, right? From everyone on this panel, I did this last night. Who's going to finish higher in the Premier League, in your opinion? Brentford, Southampton, Fulham, or Bournemouth? We're going to go around one by one. We'll go around in a different order. Jeff, who's going to finish the higher out of everybody on the panel? Take Arsenal out of it, of course.
Who's going to finish higher? I honestly, I'm not sure. I think Brentford might, but we could all be there or thereabouts. So I'll say Bournemouth will finish higher. There you go.
Hey, I love the optimism, man.
To end the show.
I love the optimism, man. Love the optimism. Emilio.
No two questions about it. It's going to be Fulham. Of course, we'll finish above all these other teams. And I'm disappointed Mr. Dawes not on the show tonight because he gave me grief last week when we didn't beat Wolves. We should have beaten them. When you're on top, you get those chances. If you continue like that, you're going to go down. And I'll say the same about Forest. You should have beaten Everton when they did it. So it's like it works both ways. But so disappointed with the arrogance last week. So
I'm clipping this. I'm clipping this. I'm going to send it to Mr. Dorr. I'm going to say to Mr. Dorr now because you'll get this in a clip. Emilio's coming for you, Mr. Dorr. Emilio's coming for you, man.
Week. You remember Matt Dan last week saying, "Well,
yeah, no,
Emilio
chose balance this week. That's it.
It works both ways, but at the end of the day, I think I said it last week on the show. Southampton are inconsistent. You know, you can do the spectacular one week or get thumped the other. And if you can sort that consistency, you'll probably got the most likely squad to finish highest of this group. But if you sort out that consistency, because
I agree,
no one expects you to go to Leicester, and to be honest, you deserve to win by more. And Matt, I think defence. You know, if you sort out your defence and you keep Tony, then I think you're good enough to stay in the Premier League. You saw that second half performance. You look dangerous, to be honest. But you know, I don't think I can't get off the show without mocking Tony with that celebration. That really got our goats up. And who had the last word? I think
deserving.
You know, you don't show that attitude because you're going to pay the price for it, like you did on Saturday. But
true.
You know, I think Fulham. Let's keep up the momentum. We've had a good start. Let's keep it going. And clearly, I want my team to finish above all these guys' teams.
Fair play, man. Dan, what are you saying?
I've got to back my boys. I think Emilio's right in the sense of on paper our squad's probably the most likely to stay up or finish the higher out of the lot. And I think we've got the manager to back it as well. It's just the consistency. But I don't know. There's something about this team. I like the new players we brought in. I like how there's a bit of a new face. You know, we've brought in lots of new players. You know, there's been Deadwood shifted out. We've got a new system. I don't know. There's just something. I think, you know, don't get me wrong. It's still early days. We've lost one, drawn one, and won one in the league. And, you know, no one's really been exceptional except for Spurs. So, yeah, I'm going to back my boys. I would say Brentford close second. I think they're probably the ones closest in terms of the setup and the squad. But I'm going to back my team, of course.
Fair play to you, man. Matt, last word, bro.
Yeah, I think to echo Dan's point, I think it's between us and Southampton. Realistically, I would back us like we've all done. I think one of the biggest things, I went to the Brentford Southampton game last season when we were at home, and to all credit as well, it looks like there's been a massive transformation because I think we were 2 or 3-0 up. Southampton fans were kind of having a go at each other. There was tear-ups and stuff on that end, and it looked like a club in turmoil. So to now be where they are, like, plaudits. It's done really well. And Dan, as you said, I think getting rid of Deadwood and kind of good results so far this season. But no, I think we'll be there. I think in terms of our squad, happy with it. As I said, transfer-wise, maybe a bit of cover, but like nothing major. And I think even though it's like second season syndrome, I think we're still kind of go under the radar a tiny bit. I think clubs will write us off, and it will be, you know, I think we'll go at them, and I think we'll get points from a few other big teams this season. So I think we'll be up there. I back us.
Look at that, man. Listen, all the neutrals listening to this, if you're going to think you're all deluded or you admire your optimism, each of you, and back in your clubs. I love to see it, man. I love to see it. Listen, boys, we're going to leave it there. That was a great show. We'll be back next week. Thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you all for listening. Great numbers again tonight. Superb viewers. Really good stuff to see. And thank you to all of my guests. Everybody go and follow all of them on social media. Make sure you subscribe to all of their channels in the description. Until then, we'll see you next time. Take it easy. And of course, I have to say it again. Up the Arsenal.
Up the cherries.
I'm on your way.